back again. I feel like I haven't chatted to the camera in ages. Hiya, my name is Abby. You're watching a Month in Wool knitting podcast. So every month I make a knitting podcast to sort of sum up what the month has looked like for me in terms of what I've been working on, if I've bought any yarn, any finished objects, sort of basically a standard podcast. Except I just do it monthly because I think that's quite fun. Normally I make weekly knitting vlogs, so I sort of use this time as a way to summarize what's been going on in the vlogs. However, this month you haven't seen me very much, so hopefully this will sort of update you on where I'm at, and you'll understand why I did not do weekly vlogs this month, because I've been working on the same project and I think it would have been a bit dull. I just follow the traditional knitting podcast, so we'll start with what I'm wearing and I'll talk you through any finished objects, whips, and if I have any acquisitions, which this month I have an acquisition. I have 2 whips and I have 1 finished object. It's been a quiet month for me, but I'm also giving myself grace because February is in general a slower month because there's less days. So I've only got 1 finished object, which I finished early in the month, but I'm making good progress on some of my whips. So I'm excited to show them to you, and I think we'll just get right started. Let me fix the camera. Okay, so firstly what I'm wearing, this is my blouse number 1 light by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's knit in a cashmere wool silk blend mohair that I found off of Vinted, and I believe it's just, I have no idea where it's from. I've been looking everywhere because it's so comfy. It keeps me warm, but it's also soft, and then obviously it's a mohair. So I call it my Lorelei blouse because it really inspires. It really reminds me of Gilmore Girls and like something that Lorelei would wear. So I call this my Lorelei blouse, but it's just a blouse number 1 light. Let me do a stand. Actually, I had to shorten the sleeves on this pattern because when I knit them to length, they were like 4 inches longer. Like they were like up to here, which I thought was crazy. So I shortened them quite a bit. I'm very happy with them. If you can tell, I don't like long sleeves. I don't like sleeves that are long. I like to hit just about my wrist or the bottom of my palm so that I can pull them, but they can also not be in my way when I'm doing things. And the only thing I'm sad about is the way that the stripes distributed. Because of the nature of the yarn, it was self-striping, I believe, but because I had a smaller circumference on the sleeves, I've gotten thicker stripes than I have on the body, and there was a bit of muddling here in the middle as well, so it's a bit non-cohesive, uncohesive, but I think that's okay, and I'm really happy with it. I haven't worn it in a while, but it was nice to pop it on as a lighter top since the weather is a lot warmer than it was yesterday and last week and the whole year. I think I will start with my finished object. So that is my Sophie scarf. This is the long version. This is the Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. And I knit this on 3.5mm needles as the pattern requires in Cardiff Cashmere Classic in the shade Cameo, which I can't remember the numbers, but I will type it out somewhere if you would like me to. Yeah. It's just a Sophie scarf. Let's put it on. I don't actually find myself wearing this Sophie scarf very often, simply because I just don't have, like, the occasion. However, putting it on has really convinced me that this is something that I could totally get on board of. If you know and watch my other videos, you know that I'm a big fan of Sophie scarves, and I actually want to have a collection of them. So, this is pretty much my first... Actually, it's my second Sophie scarf. I have knit the pattern before, but I've not knit the long version. And I will say, I think I prefer the long version to the short version. But I also don't know if it's just because of the yarn that I used for this one, where the other yarn I used was like a sock yarn held together, so it's definitely not quite as cozy and warm as this Sophie scarf is. Overall, I really enjoy this pattern. I know a lot of people don't love it. I don't know why. I think it's super easy. I think it's chic. It's very Scandinavian if it's your style. If it's not your style, I would get why you wouldn't like it. But there's lots of tiny scarves out there, and I'm sure if you're not a Sophie scarf fan, you'll be able to find something that suits your style a bit more. But for me, I'm quite happy with the Sophie scarf. It's a pattern that I already own, and I'm on a mission to reach for patterns that I already have rather than always buying a new pattern, because I think it just helps my wardrobe become more cohesive and actually helps me build outfits rather than having a bunch of random pieces that don't really go together. So I think the Sophie scarf fits my vibe, so I will continue knitting them. But that was my finished object of the month. So cute. Now my first whip, we're jumping into whips by the way, but my first whip is a project that I'd hoped would be finished this month, but it is not. However, it's definitely close to finished, and I've made very good progress on it from the last time I was working on the project, so I'm very pleased with that. But I will show you. It is my Daydreamers cardigan, knit in Drops Air and Knitting for Olive Silk Mohair. I basically finished a sleeve this month, and I've made some modifications, so I thought I'd talk you through them, and then I've started another sleeve. So I have been on this mission to make a dupe of the Cezanne Emile cardigan, which is basically what the Daydreams cardigan is sort of inspired by. I think, I don't know, I'm not the designer, but I'm pretty sure that Kutoba Kika is sort of wrote it as an inspiration because it was such a popular cardigan on the internet. So what I did is I have knit it off gauge, not on purpose. I thought I was on gauge. I had to go up 2 needles to hit what I thought was gauge. I think I'm 1 stitch or 1.5 stitches off gauge, which is slightly annoying because I think it will stretch when blocking, and I'm worried that my sleeves are a little bit big. However, the one thing I added is I did an increase on the sides of my beginning of round marker to make this sort of bubble effect at the end of the sleeve, because if you look at the original cardigan, it has a very pronounced balloon sleeve. So I was trying to recreate that effect by adding, now it makes the fabric feel really quite stiff. So I'm hoping when I block it, it will really sort of loosen out and sort of flow a little bit better. It also makes the sleeve really heavy, and it's pulling the top of the jumper whenever I put it on to try it on and like see how it's fitting. It does pull the top down significantly. However, I'm hoping that once I get a collar and everything, it will be a lot better, because I'm worried about my raglans. I don't want those stitches to be pulled because the sleeve is so heavy. So I'm hoping once I stitch up a button band and a collar, that will fix most of it, and then I'm also going to wet block it just to relax the fabric as much as I can. I will say that I am very, very proud of my cuff. It's knit exactly to the length I wanted. If you know me, you know that I never knit anything on my sleeves to the correct length, but I finally have knit a sleeve that's the correct length. The only goal will be making sure that my other sleeve matches, but I'm really happy with the cuff. I did it on a 5mm needle, so I sized down twice. So I went from a 6 to a 5. Super happy with the ribbing, it's exactly what I wanted. Italian bound off. I did not Italian bind off on the body of this because last time I did another Daydreamers cardigan last year, and when I bound off with the Italian bind off, it was really weird and it started like sliding across the yarn. So I just did a normal bind off following pattern, and I think it looks fine. I don't even think you can tell. I think it looks clean. It's a little stretchy still, so it's not like pulling the fabric or anything, so I'm very happy with it. But I will say this has been a bit of a struggle for me enjoying this project because I think I've just had a vision for it. I'm now worried that it's too cropped. So another reason I'm wet blocking is because I want to sort of stretch it out, pull it as much as I can. But I also know because I'm knitting almost 2 sizes bigger than the recommended, I'm knitting a large and I probably should be knitting a small or a medium. And since I'm also adding width to the sleeves, as well as I've added, no, I'm not added, but my gauge is bigger than what's recommended. I know it's going to be a lot bigger, so I'm thinking if it's cropped, that will look more intentional rather than looking really baggy and oversized on me. And the Bastille cardigan is very oversized, so I'm hoping that it all turns out. But I've made a lot of progress and I'm really proud of myself, so we can hope that in March you will see a finished Daydreamers cardigan. I'm also excited to work on some other things once this is finished, but I've been trying to give myself self-control. So my second whip I just cast on as like I wanted a tiny needle project and something when I was tired of doing that, as in the Daydreams cardigan, that would sort of just give me a different challenge. So I started casting on for my mixed rib cami. That's what it's called, the mixed rib cami by Florence Miller, and I am knitting it with Knitting for Olive Merino in Dusty Banana, and I'm really excited about the color. I also am really happy with my ribbing so far. I only messed up on the first row, but I don't think you can even tell. You can just barely tell that I've messed up on the first row, but other than that, it's looking really good. I'm knitting it in the size small, so I'm hoping that that is fine. It should be. I measured everything, but I think I'm a tight knitter, so hopefully it will be okay. But I'm looking at it and it's is just really gorgeous. So I'm really excited about it. As you can see, I've done almost nothing, but it's quite a fiddly pattern. I really enjoyed doing the twisted rib on the cuff of my Daydreamers cardigan. I thought that I wouldn't like it. I think it's slightly faster for me than normal rib, and I also like the way that it looks significantly better than normal rib. So I might start doing everything with a twisted rib, like cuff and hem, because I just think it looks fabulous and look very professional. It also makes my stitches just look neater. I find when I knit a 1x1 rib, my knit stitches look really wide, and I have tried so many things to not do that. So I will say though, I normally knit on a small circular needle. I knit my sleeves on that, and usually I'll stretch them out to try and knit the cuff, but I think that I might need to start doing magic loop, which is what I did on that cardigan, because I think that helped me keep my circumference tight, which kept my ribbing neat and tidy. So that is my plan. This is also a ribbing. Again, I think I've said so many times that I don't like doing ribbing, but I keep picking ribbing projects because they just look really nice and professional, and they just allow you to manipulate the fabric in different ways than stockinette. So yeah, that is my second whip. Very little progress. I'm trying to get it done by the summer because I'd really like to get quite a bit of wear out of it. So I thought if I just cast it on as soon as possible, it'd be ready to go for whenever I decided I wanted to crack down on it. So I'd like to hopefully join in the sleeves by March, and then we can just knit in the round till we're done, and it'll be ready to go by the time May comes around. So that is whip number 2. So if you can't tell, it's been a very quiet knitting month for me. That's why I've sort of put a pause on the knitting vlogs. I only have one acquisition, so I'm going to show you. And I bought this off of Vinted, and I found a really good deal on some West Yorkshire spinners, the Croft DK, in what I believe is a discontinued shade. So that's very exciting, because I actually think it's really gorgeous. It's sort of a pinky purple marled tweed. I think it is a tweed, technically. I think it's... Anyway, it's sort of like a marled pinky purple tweed, which is perfect because I love this color combo. So I'm planning on making a Monday sweater. If you don't know, I knit a Cardiff Cashmere Monday sweater, but I've been itching to do another one because I just want a slightly thicker one. And I just love the shape and the overall design of the Monday sweater. So I thought, Croft DK, I actually thought it was an Aran yarn when I first bought it, which is kind of sad because I had plans to make maybe a Dagmar's jacket or something with this exact yarn, but just in the Aran version. However, I think I would have needed more wool, and it would have needed to be an Aran, so I'm quite excited to make a Monday sweater out of this. It'll just be like a cash pullover. If I find anything else that suits me, I'll probably look at knitting something else, but I just think a Monday sweater is a really good idea when I'm not quite sure what I want to use the yarn for. And I know that I will wear a Monday sweater, so that's what also excites me about knitting with this yarn. So I'll just tell you a little about it. It's West Yorkshire Spinners, Shetland wool, 100% Shetland Island wool, DK. Each skein is 225 meters, which is pretty much exactly what I need for a jumper. I'll probably even have a significant amount left over. So that's very exciting, but that's my one acquisition, which I purchased from Vinted, and I'm quite pleased with it. I try to be careful with my acquisitions because I don't want to be an impulsive yarn buyer, but when I see something that I know is a yarn that I have wanted to use and I could make a Monday sweater out of it, I will buy it. I actually made another Vinted purchase yesterday, which I'll probably end up showing you in March, but it's actually discontinued yarn, so I'm quite excited about it. And I think similarly, I'll have to really think about what project I want to make with it, but I know that whatever I make with it, I'm gonna like. So that is how I decide to buy yarn, is if I know I like the color and the yarn itself, then I know I'll make whatever I make out of it. It won't be a waste of buying the yarn. But yeah, I think that is all I have to share for you today. Super short one. I would love if you would tell me what you've been knitting or what you are knitting as you're watching this video. I am just hoping to get my Daydreamers cardigan done. I think that's sort of the only knitting project that I'm in the foreseeable future going to be cranking out. I also have got a new job, which is really exciting, so that will start in the middle of March. So I'm about to get really busy, so I'm treasuring the times that I have before I have to go work 40 hours a week. So right now I'm only working part-time, so I have a lot of time on my hands to just like be creative and knit and just hang out and chill, which is what I like to do. So I'm trying to get all my knitting time in as much as I can. thank you so much for watching. I know we've not been on here in a while, but I appreciate you watching anyway, and I really hope you've enjoyed. And I will see you when I see ya.